Hey, come see us in Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Irvine, California, and Ontario, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. You interviewed the guy. This is the guy who actually organized it.
One of the two. The other one is Winston Marshall, who's from
the book 1984.
That's Smith. Yeah, and hey, look, I want to be fair. I asked both of the organizers about this. I did ask them, hey, why isn't a kind of anti-woke left represented? And they both recognized that as a fault of the festival. They both said they're doing it again. They're going to do it a second year, and they want to correct that. Also, the Winston actually said, we don't have that video, but Winston actually said they had a hard time getting people on the left. Now, what he means by on the left probably isn't what we mean.
No.
Because I know Max, I know Aaron, I know Norman would not be like, oh, look at this guest list. I'm not going to this place. There's no way. Norman would definitely fucking do it. He would relish doing it.
You mean Norman Finkelstein, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, all the people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So here you have a little, let's play this little conversation you had with them.
Okay, so we have here the organizer himself of the Dissident Dialogues. Can you tell people who you are and a little bit about you?
All right, my name is Desa Miller. I am the co-founder of Dissident Dialogues along with Winston Marshall.
Okay, and so you called it Dissident Dialogues. What is it dissident against?
Well, don't read too much into the name. If you were to really look at it, today we had one true dissident, Marcy, but ultimately we're trying to create a platform here for ideas. It's a place for dangerous ideas.
Okay. So I felt like the kind of, silent but deadly hanging over the entire event was we are right in the middle of a crackdown on student protests, the likes of which we have not seen since the Vietnam era. Are those students dissidents?
I believe they believe that, and you can, by going against what you believe as oppression, unjust wars, I think they truly believe that. I think it's there can be debates and platforms like Dissident Dialogue to really look into whether it is truly a dissident act. But I wouldn't judge them for that. But I think most of them, when you see their passion, they truly believe that they are fighting the good, just fight, and they are being dissident. Now, whether they're dissidents, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. I don't think.
Okay, now I'm going to give you a sticky one. Now, there is kind of a war that has erupted among civil libertarians about this, particularly on the right. You have Matt Walsh fighting with Greg Abbott. You have Candace Owens fighting with her former employer, Ben Shapiro. You have John Knowles also coming out and getting into conflict with them. Do you come down on any particular side, which seems to roughly be people who are saying, hey, if we believe in speech, this is speech, we can't be hypocrites, and people are saying, no, this isn't what we meant by speech?
Yeah, free speech absolutism is a sticky subject, right? And I want to make this very clear. I'm not a public intellectual. I help public intellectuals and people with smart ideas to get their voices heard far and wide. So I don't really pick a side with regards to any of the names you've mentioned.
I like that whole, what he says is that free speech absolutism. They put absolutism. Mm-hmm. It's just free speech. Right. You don't have to put absolutism. It's free speech. And he says it's sticky. You know why it's sticky? Because some people aren't for free speech. That's why. It's only sticky to people who want to censor other people's speech. It's not sticky for people who are for free speech.
If you look at his answers there, they were very much the answers of, and this is what I'm not going to hold against him. This is a businessman who wants to be able to organize these festivals without offending anybody. So he was very careful not to commit to anything. He didn't condemn the students. He didn't condone the students. I believe they believe that. It's not for me to say, which, okay, listen, given that he's not going up there and presenting himself as a public intellectual with an opinion, but as an organizer of a festival, I'll accept that. After the camera's off, I told him I'm going to send you a list. And let me play the rest. Okay,
let me play the rest of it.
Stuff, and I tend to ground my decisions on reason, rationality, and compassion. And if somebody's making an argument that fits in that category, chances are I'll be there.
Okay, now you're planning on doing this again,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you saw what happened, people seem to be very happy. Incredible reception. We're definitely doing it next year.
All right, so now you say you're not really an intellectual in this space. This isn't really what you do. All right, so our channel is called Do Dissident. So we were almost destined to be here. Now, the way I always describe us is the anti-woke left. Now, to watch this event, you would get the impression that there's nobody who thinks what's happening in genocide is what's happening in Gaza is genocide, who also thinks men don't belong in women's swimming. But we're out there. Jimmy Dore very much fits that category. We're in Norman Finkelstein's town today. His last book was all about Ibram X. Kendi and ripping apart that whole and very effectively ripping it apart. Do you feel it's an oversight not to have people like this at Dissident Dialogues, and would you invite them next year?
Oh, look, I have a history of putting on events like this. I always invite people from all walks of life. And you saw, we had Brianna Joy Gray yesterday, and, that was, very contentious debate. I will always invite people that I fundamentally disagree with. That's the whole point. The challenge is, though, is presenting a reason for them to come, because a lot of them see this as, well, what am I getting out of it? I'm in this camp, and everything I'm saying is validated. Why would I go here? That's why I have a lot of respect for Brianna for coming yesterday and having that debate, being very lively. And I will continue to invite. So this year we had 2 days, little about 16 hours, over 35 speakers. There's only so many we can cram in. So next year, hopefully more days. We'll see. Time will tell.
Okay, Dash, thank you very much.
So, yeah, I mean, I could give you a reason that I would go. 10K plus travel.
Well, hey, I don't know what the numbers were. I don't want to, reveal anything that was spoken off record, but they had to pay Bree well to do this. Let's put it that way. I don't know the number, but they had to up their initial offer. I'll say that much. I don't know what the number is, but they could not get her for what they initially offered. So hey, that number I'm sure would not be a problem. You're probably lowballing yourself, actually. And look, he went on the record saying that he wants more voices like that next year.
So that's good.
After the camera was off, we had a conversation. I have his email. I'm supposed to send him a list of people I would suggest who are more legitimately left. And hey, benefit of the doubt. Okay. These guys, him and Winston, I get the impression they're probably more oriented in the intellectual dark web space. I don't even know how aware. I mean, they both knew who you were, but do they really look at people on the left? And when he's saying it's hard to get people, okay, my money
he didn't
would
try.
be on.
He didn't try to get me. He didn't try to get Max. He didn't try to.
Probably. But when he says left, he probably means they tried to get Crystal Ball.
Yes.
He probably means they tried to get Cenk Uygur.
Yes.
That's what he means when he says they tried to get people on the left.
People who vote
then
Democrat.
Didn't want to get savaged by that kind of a crowd.
He means people like not Matt Taibbi, not Aaron Mate, not Max, not you, not me, but people who vote Democrat.
Well, and this is another point, because they had Michael Schellenberger. Now, yes, Michael Schellenberger has covered transgender issues, particularly with the WPATH files, and I've covered that on my own show, and I do think that work is valuable. But Michael Schellenberger is also one of the main people exposing worldwide government censorship as an intelligence services op. So why didn't you have him do a panel on that? Why did you only have him do a panel on something that feeds into this anti-woke intellectual dark web shit? Why didn't you? Because they had him do two things. He did his kind of what I assume is his standard speech slideshow that he does when he goes around and does conferences. And then he led a panel on the WPATH thing. Well, if you got Michael Schellenberger, why don't you have him lead a panel about the Scottish hate crimes bill? Why don't you have him do a panel? He's wanted in Brazil right now. Why would you not have him do something about the fact that he's a wanted man in Brazil? Why don't you invite Glenn Greenwald? You know, these are not like obscure figures, and you can't say you're not aware of Schellenberger's work. You fucking invited him. So why did you only ask him about what would play to this very narrow audience? That's what I'm saying. And that's what I said, I think, in the interview with the other guy. I'm somebody who agrees with most of the anti-woke stuff. But to have an entire conference where you're just talking about that with the fucking world on fire, and anything you have to say about international geopolitics is just State Department talking points that I could hear on a CNN roundtable, that it just seems so out of touch, out of tune, and out of time. But again, you saw the interview. He didn't choke or get defensive when I said you didn't invite these people. So let's see. It is the first year, and I did bring it to their attention, and I am going to send them an email. So we'll see what happens next year.
Okay. Well, it was great work. I was following your Twitter feed and your reports on it, and so it was fun for me. Thanks for going there. Thanks for doing it, and thanks for coming on today, Russell. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jimmy.
Everybody check out the Do Dissidents boys over at Do Dissidents, YouTube, Rumble, and Substack. Hey, come see us do a live show. We're going to be in Denver, Colorado, May 11th, Los Angeles, California, doing a live panel show with a celebrity panel and video, Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, with Max Blumenthal, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Irvine, California, Chicago, Illinois, with another celebrity panel, live video show in Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.